Well, it's a 40-minute, I like to call it an experimental documentary, and I follow a Cree educator from the U of A who does a decolonial walking tour in the river valley. I was inspired by it simply because I went on one of his walks, and I was like, hey, getting to hear this history and these stories on the land as opposed to in a classroom or a book, it's a special thing. So yeah, that's what inspired it.
Connor, what do you hope viewers take away from Otenaw?
Well, I think just having a better understanding of the place you live in, it helps everybody, I think, get along a little bit better, if you know what I mean. Wanted people to know more about this history, really.
Métis filmmaker Connor McNally joining CFWA this afternoon. Connor, tell us all about your passion for directing films. Where did that come from?
Yeah, well, I've actually kind of been involved with the arts since I was born. My dad is a professional actor, so I've kind of always been dabbling in theater and in film. And I joined FAVA, which is a non-for-profit film co-op here in the city, when I was in my really early 20s, and took classes there and got really inspired to branch out and just start doing my own stuff.
Why is it important for Canadians to really understand the histories of the land we're on?
Knowing about the history of Edmonton specifically, and for instance, Papa's Chase displacement, all the script speculation that went on with Richard Secord and so on. Those kinds of things are really important because it helps people understand the now, right? So if you can understand the past a little bit more, I think it helps open up dialogue for people today.
Local filmmaker Connor McNally joining CFWA this afternoon. His movie Otenaw premieres this Friday at the Dreamspeakers Indigenous Film Festival in Edmonton. Connor, where else has Otenaw screened?
It's actually played at the Garno once before at Fava Fest, which is the film co-op I talked about earlier. And then it played in Vancouver at the Doxa Film Festival, which was great. It played with this really old NFB movie called You Are on Indian Land. And then I also have screenings coming up in Winnipeg and also at Imaginative.
Let's talk really about the wide variety of films. This weekend in Edmonton, there's so much for people to check out, throughout Dreamspeakers.
Yeah, I really think on the opening night, there's the new NFB film by Marie Clements, who's a Métis filmmaker, called The Road Forward. And it's about a news publication from BC. And it's kind of it's part documentary, part musical, dramatic musical. So it's told in a really interesting way. And then there's also Once We're Warriors is playing later on Friday night on the 22nd. And for those that don't know, this is an iconic Indigenous film. It's Maori, so it's from New Zealand, and I think it was made in 1994. Very heavy subject matter. It's certainly not PG, but it's a must-watch for Indigenous film aficionados and anyone that just likes to come see movies.
Métis director Connor McNally joining CFWE. Connor, as a film director, tell us the importance of a festival like Dreamspeakers in Alberta.
Well, I think for starters, it's great for people to have a place where they can come and watch Indigenous films. And not all of our films are all made exactly by an Indigenous person, as the director. Some are directed by others, and they would have an Indigenous producer or an all-Indigenous cast. And so, in saying that, it's just a good place to come watch movies that maybe you wouldn't see in a normal theater venue, if you know what I mean. You're not going to see a lot of these movies at West Edmonton Mall, at the Cineplex there. And I do think it's important to actually come see a movie in a theater with an audience, because there is a vibe to it, and people can kind of feel the energy in the theater when things are really picking up. So I really believe in the sanctity of the theater experience, if you catch my drift. And for Indigenous cinema, I mean, Dreamspeakers, that's what we're trying to do with it, right? Is bring people together to see movies that they wouldn't really normally see, and then hopefully, feeds off into discussions in the lobby afterwards or online. But I like the idea of bringing people together to watch movies.